Teacher, mentor, coach, competitor, man of God, friend, and just an all-around nice guy are words that I use to describe Chuck. It was 1971. I was a freshman at Columbus High School in Waterloo. Chuck was the senior and captain of our wrestling team. We had a new coach who was new to wrestling. So Chuck provided a lot of our instruction as far as wrestling technique for our high school team. Chuck was always a soft-spoken leader, choosing to lead by example rather than talk. If he met his parents and his brothers, it was easy to see where he got. He would go on to graduate from Columbus, then go on to Iowa, becoming an All-American his sophomore year, and then winning his first NCAA title his junior year. We forward now to 1975. I'm a freshman at the University of Iowa, Chuck's a senior and a captain. Kind of see a trend here. I'm always a freshman, Chuck's always a senior, he's always the captain. But the tone was set at the first meeting, and I know John and Chuck will remember this one. Right before Labor Day holiday, we had a team meeting. Coach Perlmeyer called everybody in. It was pretty obvious that nobody had gotten a haircut since the end of last season. So everybody was long hair, beards, and I really think this was scripted. Coach Perlmeyer had Chuck stand up. He pointed out, see Chuck's haircut? When you show up on Tuesday, this is the way you're going to look. So sure enough, we knew who the role model was, and we knew what was going to happen. So the barbers, I know, made a killing that weekend because everybody showed up, haircuts, and in fact, John Bowlesby would declare, those haircuts look like a Manhattan taxi with the doors open. So while at Iowa, I had the opportunity to work out with Chuck on a regular basis. You might say that I learned the seat belt, his favorite move, from sitting in the front seat. I learned very quickly that Chuck could put that tight waist on. First thing you're going to do is you're going to whizzer him, right? Well, I learned if you keep your head down, he's going to come over the top of that quarter Nelson, and the next thing you know, you're counting the lights. So it was one where then I figured out after, being the astute individual I am after a couple of times that, okay, if I keep my head up, he can't come over the top and throw me to my back. Then all they do is he'd sit you back on your butt, you got at least a takedown, if not near fall points again. So it was just not a good situation there. What I finally figured out is just don't even get close to him, and you're going to be able to be successful. But the ultimate testament to Chuck's sharing his seatbelt technique with others was Tony Ramos. We were able to see Tony here probably, this is going to be about 5, 6, 7 years ago at the NCAA tournament. He's wrestling a kid from Minnesota. Sure enough, Tony's got the tight waist on. Kid from Minnesota makes a mistake, whizzers him. Tony comes up over the top, locks it up, and he hits the move so hard that the kid from Minnesota's feet leave the mat on his way to his back, and it was over in literally a couple of seconds. But that was the way Chuck was, and Chuck still to this day takes the time to go back and work with the others, show them some technique and help them. A lot of people don't realize that Chuck is a published author. Chuck, he wrote a book in 1977 called Kings of the Mat, and it chronicled the rise of wrestling at the University of Iowa. A little shameless plug here. I think you can go on the internet and still find a copy. But one of the reasons Chuck had such a major impact on the Iowa program was his freestyle wrestling. And as Dave mentioned, some of the successes, he was a major contributor to the success of the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, which really was just starting at that point in time. And he would go on, obviously, to win several national freestyle titles, the Olympic position. But what it did overall was it made the competition in the wrestling room so intense. Things definitely were raised up another level, and our confidence grew exponentially. But at Iowa, as many of you are aware, we were known for a work hard, play hard mentality. Many people don't realize we had a flag football team. Our front four was bigger than the football team's front four. Chuck was one of our receivers, and one of the things that, as you can imagine with us, we played football the same way we wrestled, heavy hands. Yes, we did lead the league in penalties during those times, but we did actually had quite a few successes, won the majority of our games. I think there was only one group, a dental fraternity, believe it or not, that beat us. But overall, we always had a good time, and that was just the nature of the wrestling team. work hard, play hard. Now, one of the things you'll know about Chuck is he's always got a smile on his face. Whenever you look at Chuck, he's always smiling, right? Well, it's a great poker face for playing practical jokes. Chuck had returned from Tbilisi with his Russian souvenirs, fur hats and shoes, and so I'm thinking, all right, this is going to be pretty good. So Chuck says, go over there and take a look inside my bag. I go over there, put my head in the bag, and the most vile, putrid, nauseous smell is in that bag. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what happened? Chuck had a warm-up jacket from another country. Now, being young and naive, and my only travel was to wrestling tournaments, I didn't know that people in other countries didn't always take a shower after they worked out. But the final laugh came when Chuck went to wash that jacket. He no longer could wear it. It shrank up to about half of its size. And Chuck, of course, as I mentioned, always a teacher and a mentor. One day, Mark Misnick, many of you probably remember him as Mulder, Chuck and I decided we're going to run 10 miles. So we get a ride out 10 miles from the locker room, and we're going to run back. I'd run with Chuck and Mulder was our 118 pounds. So I've run with these guys before, so I'm thinking this is going to be pretty easy because I know I can outrun. So if you've ever run on those farm roads in Iowa, you know that there's always some farm dogs out there to help you, right? So sure enough, we start off. Things are going along pretty good. Chuck's pushing the pace. We're about mile 7. All of a sudden, I hear a couple of barks, and sure enough, here comes this farm dog sprinting down the drive, and he is headed straight for us. I look around, and there's Mulder. He takes off like his hair's on fire. And at this point, it's like, okay, I am after Mulder. Forget about Chuck. Learned a valuable lesson that day. You don't always have to be the fastest. You just can't be the slowest. Let me go ahead and close it out with, Chuck's always known for his quotes. And this one came at the NCAA tournament we were watching in St. Louis. And I'm looking over at Chuck. He's got the largest ice cream dessert. I mean, he is just going to town on this. I kind of look at him like, what are you doing? He just looks at me very innocent and he says, hey, you can't cut weight on an empty stomach. Thank you, Chuck.
I'm going to be giving a testimonial this morning. So think about this. We've known each other for 60 years, and I'm going to put that into 5 minutes. So I was given no guidelines on what to say, so I decided to start out by answering the question, what's it like to be Chuck Yagla's brother? But first I want to give you a quick introduction to our family. Chuck is the youngest of 4 brothers. He and I were the closest, not only in age, but because the 2 of us started wrestling at the same time, and we both developed a mutual love for the sport. I've always considered myself Chuck's biggest and certainly longest time fan. So what's it been like being Chuck's brother? I also came to Iowa, like Chuck, to wrestle. And I've lived in Iowa since then, which means that starting 40 years ago and continuing till today, when I'm asked my name, there's a good chance I'll be asked a second question. Are you related to Chuck Yagla? I think to myself, how many Yaglas do they think is in the party? My son has a good friend whose name is Steve Smith. Imagine if Steve Smith moved to Stillwater and was asked the same question. Do you think if he was asked, are you John Smith's brother? Are you related to John Smith? And if he was asked that question, I know Steve would say, who's John Smith? But the question I really want to consider this morning is, what made Chuck a champion wrestler? The simple answer is found if you do a Google search for Star Trek acronyms. Once that page comes up, go down to the bottom and you'll see Y-A-G-L-A, Yagla, which means yet another godlike alien. question to ask is, was it nature or nurture? Our mother would not hesitate to say that it was definitely nurture. I know that because one day our oldest brother, Jim, and I were sitting in the living room, and Mom came out wearing her newest sweatshirt that said, "I raised a national champion." Jim looked at Mom and said, "You know, Mom, Waterloo is the home of the National Dairy Congress. And farmers from all over the nation bring their prize cows to compete for the title of best cow in the nation. Everyone's going to think you raised a cow." How else did nurture play a role? Both Chuck and I and our brothers grew up loving to compete. And if you've ever played golf with Chuck, you know that hasn't changed. Also, Dan Gable once told me that Chuck was one of the hardest workers he's ever coached. I think Chuck's DNA, nature, had a lot to do with it also. He has huge hands. If I put my hand up to Chuck's, it would be like this. And he has long arms. So once he puts on that seat belt, I know the match is over. And I've learned today that Don has learned it's hard to get out of the seat. So the only exception that I remember is in a match Chuck had against the Russian world champion in a USA versus Russia dual meet in Des Moines. Chuck seatbelted the Russian from his feet and bear hugged him to the mat, taking him to his back. The Russian was able to roll out, but the next time Chuck got the seatbelt on him, he bailed. I also think of his strength and size advantage. And what comes to mind is the Junior Worlds in Miami. Chuck and I walked onto the elevator, and it so happened that some of the Japanese wrestlers were there as well. And Chuck was happened to be standing next to the Japanese opponent that he was going to wrestle. And his teammates were pointing at Chuck and laughing because they were pointing out how Chuck was a head taller than the Japanese wrestler. And the other thing I want to mention about that was one of the most exciting matches I've ever watched Chuck wrestle. Chuck is intensely competitive, hardworking, exceptionally strong, all around supersized. But there's one more natural trait that you wouldn't know by looking at Chuck. He may have been the smartest wrestler to ever step on the mat. But back to my first question, what's it like being Chuck's brother? It's been great. It's made me proud, and the rest of my family have been proud. Especially my mom, who raised a national champion.